Art Tatum, 1909 to 1956, was the greatest jazz piano player that ever lived. Wait, I said that the last time I was here about Keith Jarrett. It can't be right. Okay, Tatum is the second greatest piano player who ever lived. Well, he's in the top 5 anyway. Art was born in Toledo, Ohio, and due to complications from cataracts, had no vision in one eye and had extremely limited vision in his other eye. As he only had 2 eyes, that was a problem. He had perfect pitch as a child and became visibly upset if the piano went out of tune even a little. As a teenager, he attended the Columbus School for the Blind and studied piano with the classical pianist Overton G. Rainey, who was also blind. By the age of 19, Art was astounding his listeners at clubs in his hometown of Toledo and in Cleveland. And in 1932, he was discovered by the well-known singer Adelaide Hall, who took him to New York City for the first time. Art played frequently in New York City and throughout the Midwest and West Coast through the 40s and 50s and made a large number of records, mostly solo, for different labels. He was well known among jazz musicians, but not the general public. From all accounts, Art was a really nice person and was well loved by those that knew him. He lived, ate, drank, and devoured the piano, living most of his life playing all night and sleeping much of the day. Art died in 1956 at the age of 47 from kidney failure. Art's attainment in terms of piano playing is epic. Harmonically, technically, and conceptually, he's in a class all by himself. What he invented through his piano style was radical, original, and unique. To listen to Art Tatum's piano recordings is like seeing the Grand Canyon for the first time. Nothing can ever prepare you for the grandeur, the immensity, the depth, and the uniqueness of what obviously exists right in front of you. His sound was huge and outrageous, but he could also play softly. He is the typification in music of divine madness. There wasn't at the time, and there has never been anyone who created anything like the music you're about to hear. And his greatness never wears off. You will be just as astounded and confounded by his music after 50 years of listening as you were the first time you heard it. There is no accounting for the phenomena of his playing. He was a unique genius that appeared as if out of nowhere. Tonight we'll listen to and delve into one of Tatum's all-time classic recordings, Jules Massenet's Elegy. First, we'll listen to the recording at the normal speed. Then we'll listen to it slowed down to 75%, after which time I will attempt to explain a few of the endless stylistic elements that make his music great. Then we'll listen to the recording at 75% again, and I'll talk you through the elements as they happen. Finally, we'll listen to a completely different expanded version of Elegy at full speed. Then we'll go completely berserk. If we're not already. I have included in your gift bag the notes for this evening's class, a great note-for-note transcription by my friend Jed Disler, and a party blower. I'd like to thank all of you for coming out to New York's best jazz piano club, Mesro. And I want to thank you all in cyberspace for tuning in. This is my 36th Internet Masterclass, and every one is a joy. Thank you so much for being here. With no other delay or introduction, we will now listen to Art Tatum playing Elegy as recorded in 1940. Please fasten your seatbelts, and if you are sitting in an exit row, let our flight attendants know if you are unable to handle listening to this track. I will be putting up the notes for tonight's class on my masterclass archive for your further musical enlightenment. Art Tatum, Elegy. Somebody said that if you listen to this music, it's like going past a large Picasso painting on a bicycle. Listen closely. Okay, now we're going to go past this Picasso with a little slower bicycle. Before we analyze it, I wanted to play it for you at 75% of the original speed, so you can perhaps hear clearer what he's playing, because at full speed it's unbelievable. So this is 3/4 of Art Tatum. Could be after he drank his case of Pabst Blue Ribbon every day. This is, I think, a bottle 11. Here's Art Tatum at 75% playing Elegy. Then we'll talk about it. All right. It's fun with the technology that we have now that we can do that. We can slow it down to anything, and the pitch doesn't change. It's a great tool for learning or studying, because that sounded a lot more doable than at the full tempo. What really interests me about this music and music in general is how it's put together structurally. So that was a fantastic, complete piano performance. And that's no accident. He had all kinds of devices and musical theories and concepts he was using to put together that one incredible performance. So that's what I'm interested in looking at with you, and I'd like to share some of the discoveries of Art with you. Especially helpful to turn it down in speed. Elegy, as played by Tatum, has 3 main themes, 4 interludes, 3 basic tempos, and is played in 3 keys. Let's look at some of the stylistic elements that went into this performance. The tune starts with an introduction, which is a sweeping run that goes the length of the keyboard into a dramatic 2-hand melody. A good idea to keep in mind when you're creating an introduction to some of your music is to take the listener to some place that he or she has not been before. Then you can go anywhere. If you take people to a new place that they've never been before, then you can go from there into anything and it will be acceptable. So with this introduction, Art tells us that he's going to blast us. He does it faster than that. Okay, following the intro, Art plays the melody of the piece in his left hand with intricate right hand ornamentation at a slow tempo. In the right hand, he's doing a combination of chords and very intricate kind of lines. It's interesting that he puts the melody in the left hand. It sounds like a bass singer compared to the right hand, which is doing something intricate. It's also a nice combination if you're playing a melody with a lot of held notes. These notes are not moving very quickly, that in the right hand you do notes that are moving very quickly. Okay, it's a nice combination. Okay, I wanted to take a look a little bit at Art's piano voicings, which would be especially interested if you're a piano player. Art's voicings were huge, totally ahead of his time, bold, and sometimes quite dissonant. In his 2-hand voicings, which we heard a lot of on this piece, he often uses wide left-hand construction. So the left hand is very wide, like a 10th, to get this really big bass sound. He'll use that a lot. In the right hand, he often uses voicings that have an octave between the top and the bottom. And in the middle, he'll play a lot of tension. So what you get is a really big sound, and the melody in the octaves really pops out. Okay? Now, sometimes he'll use more tension. He has a big bottom. It's all about that bass. And in the right hand, he uses 4 or 5 notes to get this huge sound. One of his basic elements of voicing is to use either 2 or 3 of the same notes. And he might use it down here too. So you can get a really big sound in the left hand with a melody that pops out like a bell. He does it sometimes with tensions, where he'll take a tension and accentuate the tension by playing it 2 or 3 times, like this. So he's playing this B, it's an F7. He has it 3 times. Left hand really wide, right hand octave, and in the middle some more tensions. That's what we call a mother. Great voicing. Okay, so let me just want to play some of the voicings for you. So here we have a big left hand, and we have that note. Here on a B7, he's playing an octave on a flat 13, which makes it sound very dramatic. That note pops right out of the piano. The question always with piano playing is, how do you get certain notes to come out and certain notes not to come out? Because if no notes came out, you wouldn't hear anything. But the idea is that you have to have something popping out of the chords you're playing, especially if they're really big and complicated. So Art, like Bill Evans, played octaves in the right hand between the top and the bottom to bring the melody out. Crazy voicings. Okay, so here's a voicing for an E minor 6. Okay, big in the left hand, octave in the right hand. Yeah, no doubt. Haha. Okay, here's a voicing for an E major. He uses 5 notes in the right hand. He just loved this big sound. And on a great piano like this, you can really hear it. Okay, at some point he changed his voicings and he did broken voicings, break-in chords. So instead of playing block chords, he broke them up. Okay? All of these different piano devices were done by Chopin and done by Schumann and Schubert and all the great classical people that Art studied. And this is how you vary a piano performance. You can put a melody in the right hand, put a melody in the left hand, play chords all together, play block chords. All of these devices is what makes the piece sound like a complete voyage. Okay, now, here's a beautiful voicing for an F7. He puts F, B, and C in the left hand. Now that takes a lot of chutzpah. And in the right hand, he plays one of these chords. Now, a lot of times he'll play 2 notes with the thumb. Art's hands were like incredibly huge. He could reach, evidently, well, I know he could play at least tenths in both hands, a series of endless tenths, and not get tense about it. He could play tenths in the right, tenths in the left, and just do all passages. His hands were humongous. So, this voicing is for an F7, and he plays a lot of times 2 notes with the thumb, so you can get 6. It's like a 6-fingered guy. So he has this tense note, which is the plus 11, 3 times. He plays it 3 times in the chord, and it's a big wide thing on the bottom. And then usually some kind of run. That's the kind of sound you're hearing. Okay, now, he had also use of clusters, which are these big fat chords in the right hand when he wanted to get a big sound. I'll play a few of the clusters from this piece. Those are called clusters. It's a lot of notes close together. And it creates a kind of a shocking, very bold, brash sound, especially on a great grand piano. When he plays melodies in the right hand, as we said before, he'll use octaves a lot to bring them out. So during the stride section, you can hear something like this. The octaves is what makes the melody pop. All of that's why the incredible stride is happening in the left hand. Okay, so that's some of his voicing ideas. It's fantastic to have a big piano and make a big sound. It's like an elephant in the room. Okay, in addition to voicings, he uses 4 interludes in this piece. Interludes is a really cool piano concept where what you do is you slow down the action. So, especially Art has got quite a bit of action with the runs and the fills and everything. But he periodically and regularly slows that down and gives us an interlude where we can kind of cool our jets. So we've heard like a million notes, and we've heard all this flurry of activity, and then he gives an interlude. And an interlude, we can just rest for a moment, and it will inevitably build up the tension for another explosion. It's tension building, explosion. Tension building, explosion. So here are some of the interludes that we hear. So we have like a theme, an introduction, a theme. The theme is played a couple of times, and then he'll give us an interlude, which is a break in the action. And after the interlude, he'll take us into a bigger scope, a bigger scene. More notes, wider apart, faster, denser. And then he'll give us another interlude, just to kind of cool down for a minute. Then explosion, and then interlude, and then nuclear explosion. So this is some of the interludes he's playing here. Okay. Again, you can feel the big sound. It's wide in the left hand. Right hand, some really tense chords, minor 6 to minor major 7. And he just allows you to stay suspended on one rung of the ladder for a moment before he takes you into the next stratosphere. Okay, another interlude he uses is like this. Now this always reminds me of like a girl tied to the railroad tracks. Another one he uses like an Irish jig. So he gives you this incredible activity, and then he slows it down and gives you an Irish jig. It's like a movie director. When you're planning the storyboard for a movie, you're going to plan out where the climactic scenes come and where there's rest. You need both. In any art form, you have to have an arc, a scope of the art, and it could occur any way that you want to. You can start with something really climactic and then go down to something restful. But one way or another, you want to balance the intensity of what you're doing. So if you're creating a piece of music or a piece of dance or a piece of film, this architecture of the complete performance is really the essence of creating the whole work. So after all he gives you a little Irish jig. It slows your heart down for a second, and you know something's coming, and then he explodes. So it's a beautiful concept. And the last one I have here is at the end. Keystone Cops. It's a panic. Art was definitely a panic. This is the record that it's called Decca Presents Art Tatum. He did quite a few versions of Elegy, but this is the one we're studying today. Okay, now. Okay, he has various musical textures. Piano players, I think you'll find this interesting. So one of the things that Art is varying in this performance is the texture of the sound that you're hearing. The sound itself has a texture, and you can create variations of that texture, and great pianists inevitably create variations of musical texture. So the basic texture is just a single note, or perhaps a whole block chord. Okay, but Art used a couple of things with relative frequency that changed the basic texture of the sound. So he would do something like this, a slide. So it'd give you single notes. See, the texture of the sound changes, and that's another like signpost in the music for variation. This is a beautiful thing here. He did a three-note slide. And he also did these trills. That has a rough texture to it. And this does not. This has a smooth texture. This has a rough texture. So he was combining smooth and rough textures in the music constantly. And you can see it in the arrangements, but it goes by so fast, but it's interesting to slow it down and see how he creates different just different variations of the moment of music through textures and through interludes. And this is very well thought out, because if you listen to him play this, he's playing. This is basically an arrangement, although within it there could be a lot of improvisation. Evidently, Art didn't need to play arrangements, but he liked to because of the completion of the experience for the listener. He liked the listener to have this whole fantastic experience like a movie. So this is an arrangement, and within the arrangement there's improvisation. Okay, when he played stride. Now, one thing about Art is he was basically blind. Can you believe this? He was blind, really. He had no sight at all in one eye, and that eye kind of stayed like this. And then in his other eye, he had just a little sight, and like he used to play pinochle. And they used to have a light just like this, right behind him, where he could see the cards. And so he basically had no sight. And he was able to play stride piano. Now, stride piano is like Evel Knievel going across the Grand Canyon. You know, he starts here and he goes here and he starts here. And to play that blind is like ridiculous. Evidently, Art was also fantastic at baseball statistics. He knew everybody's batting average, and he knew every fact about baseball. Anyway. Sometimes pianists, their personality is reflected in the music. And, for example, Bill Evans, his niece once asked him what his favorite cookie was. And Bill Evans said, "My favorite cookie is a Keebler chocolate chip, lot number 14532, made in Cleveland in 1976, and it expires in 1977. That was Bill Evans' mind. He had details, and when he created his voicings, you could hear that same kind of detailed mind. He didn't play only anything. He played exactly what he wanted to hear. I don't know what it says that Tatum liked baseball statistics. But evidently that was another part of his mind where it went. Okay, now, so when he plays stride, there are two. When you play stride, this is a style of piano where you have two melodies going on at once. So you have one melody here, boom, 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 and the other melody is in the thumb of the right hand. And Art is able to keep all of that going at about 4,000 on the metronome. Boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, chick, boom. Now there are four different stride left hands that he's using. Again, piano players, I think, would be interested in this. Maybe clarinet players too. One is just to use one note in the left hand. One is to use an octave in the lowest layer. Obviously a bigger sound. One is to use a broken octave in the left hand. The biggest sound you can get from stride that Art got was the use of tenths in the lowest layer in the left hand. That's very hard to do. And he's able to do it continuously and endlessly, and he's blind. Dig that. Okay. Okay, now, let's look at his ridiculous runs. This is what he's known for more than anything, and it is ridiculous. So I have identified 10 different kinds of runs, all of which are totally disease-free. And I'm just going to show you some of the ideas. Now we have an overhead camera, so for pianists, I'm going to do it slowly, and you can follow some of these. And again, you'll see a lot of these in the transcription that you have along with this. Okay, so here's just a descending chord run. He's just going E minor 6, top to bottom. It is true that a lot of his runs he was able to do with only 3 fingers. Part of the secret of being able to do the runs this quickly is in the fingering of them, and sometimes he could get away with 3 fingers. Here's a multi-level pentatonic run. Watch this. He's taking one scale, in this case a pentatonic, and he's doing a 3 pattern, 1, 2, 3, and a 5 pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, once he developed a pattern, he could repeat that pattern up the keyboard. Okay, 3 notes to start, and then 5. It's actually kind of fascinating to break this down, because it makes sense when you slow it down and analyze it. There's something that he's doing. It's not just like a genius, which he is, but he's also a genius who's thought it through, which is the best kind of genius. Okay, we have some of his lines go up, and then they go way down. So he moves close, like a second apart, going higher, and then he does a big arpeggio where the notes are a third apart. So he goes up like this, and then he does a long arpeggio with thirds. And then he'll do our chromatics at the bottom. So he starts going up with seconds, and then he does an arpeggio with thirds, and then chromatics at the bottom. Chromatics and steps on top, long arpeggio in the middle to get range, and then chromatics on the bottom. Okay, that's kind of understandable. Okay, one type of run that Art uses is, we could call an imitation run. This is where you take a few notes and you will imitate that an octave lower or higher and make a run out of it. And then he would have completed in the left hand. He did a lot of runs where he started them in the right hand and ended them in the left hand. This gave tremendous range to possibilities that he could do. Here's an interesting run called a cookie cutter. Cookie cutter is where you take one little melodic pattern and you just repeat it up a scale. Bum, bing, bum, like a cookie cutter. Bum, bum, bing, bum, bum, bum. That sounds something like this. Okay? Of course, it's going at 7,000 miles an hour, but it's still like this. It's a pattern. Repeated, repeated. Okay? You can cover a lot of territory, and it's something that is doable if you practice it. And if you drink a case of Pabst Blue Ribbon beer every day, these become easy after a while, and if you miss them, you don't notice, so it doesn't matter. Here's another cookie cutter. 4 notes of a diminished scale. Okay, it really makes sense if you look at what he's doing. Okay, here's a pattern where it's up. He often does something going up, one type of a line or run going up, and then he changes it going down. And he'll always use wide intervals someplace in these runs, and that's what enables him to go all this distance on the piano in like the blink of an eye. Wide intervals between the notes. So here's a run where he does this, watch. Okay? So it's a kind of repetitive little melody going up. And now a long arpeggio going down. That's a really great run. He does a descending E harmonic minor scale. Sometimes it's just a scale, but that's good enough if it goes a long way. Okay, this is called a fountain run. It goes up and then down. He's just like a big spray, and then he takes you down. A lot of the concepts behind these incredible runs are way up and way down. He takes you way up and then way down, and then it'll go way down and then way up, and then it's just like a roller coaster in your mind. It takes you way up and then way down. And so that's an amazing concept. Okay. How are we doing out there?
All right. Yeah.
Interesting?
Yeah.
Close, soon. Go ahead. This is very advanced stuff. I hope you can follow some of it. What we're going to do now is we're going to listen to Elegy at 75%. And then we have this semi-professional chart here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to talk you through. I'm going to play this at 75%. And I'm going to talk you through the sections that we've just discussed. And you can see, it's beautiful architecture. It's exactly like building a building. He's thinking of where to accelerate, where to decelerate, where to create excitement, where to create tension, where to create anticipation. This is all thought out. And it's beautiful when somebody can put it together to this degree. So, this is Elegy 75% with remarks. That's the intro. Now he gives you the main theme slow. Beautiful theme. Right hand, left hand melody, right hand ornamentation. Beautiful. Big chord. Now he gives you the main theme fast. Again. His theme tune. Broken chords. Theme 1. AABA. Interlude 1. No changes. Up, down arpeggios. Interlude 2. No movement. Theme 1. Theme 2. Theme 1. Interlude 1. Theme 3. Modal. Long runs up and down. Down. Cookie cutter run. Interlude 4. 3. Irish. Stars and stripes forever in the wrong key. Up. Down. Interlude 4. The train is coming. Trill in the left hand. He's about to do it. He's about to do it. It's coming. It's coming. It's here. Sky. Woo! 75%. Right. Theme number 1. Back to where it started. Bookends. Beautiful ending. He gives you dissonant chords, major 7s moving up a whole step. He really draws it out. You draw out the emotion of the ending. E pentatonic. Yes, sir. Does that make sense a little bit? It's really a groove to sit down with this. When I first started working on this, I had about a 24-hour anxiety attack. What? What do I have to do now? But that subsided after about 24 hours with the use of some substances. And then I started to understand it a little bit. And it was great. I mean, it's beautiful to give your full attention to music and to try to understand it is just this huge extra bonus. And the two together you can't beat. So you never get tired of this stuff, and that's what I love about it. Also, playing and teaching, you never get tired of it. It's one of these things in life that you just always enjoy, never get tired of it. It's amazing. Okay, we're going to do one more thing, and this is where the party blowers come in.
All right.
We're going to listen to an expanded version of Elegy, and then when he goes berserk, I would like to hear the sound of 40 people going. You don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. But just an idea. Okay. He added more layers to it as he went. There's more slides. Big chord. Ah, beautiful chord. Fast melody. Has that little texture thing. Boing, boing. There's an interlude. Runs up, down, up, down. Interlude. You can't pay the rent. You must pay the rent. You can't pay the rent. Theme 1. Interlude. No, theme 1. Theme 2. Broken chords. Down. Melody 1. Interlude. Scene 3. Pentatonic scale. Pentatonic scale. Improvising around E harmonic minor. Cookie cutter run. Irish interlude. I say that it. Stars and Stripes are rather in the wrong key. Interlude. Building this tension. Here it comes. Ready? Ready to blow? 1, 3. He's blind and drunk. It goes longer this time. Cookie cutter run. Back to theme 1. Right back to where you started. Melody left hand, ornamentation right hand. Now he has the outro. Same outro. Drawing it out. End. All right. Woo! Enough. All right. An idea drops in your head and you just try it. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. I think it worked pretty well. I think that was the greatest idea that any piano player ever did in anything. A piano teacher at any time. Already I'm doing the greatest thing anyone has ever done. Okay. I'd like to thank Spike Wilner for creating and sustaining this fantastic club, Mesro! Woo! the middle of the jazz universe. Jed Disler for his great transcription. My fantabulous filmmaker Rick Steinberger. And Infusion. Rick has done the last 5 projects with me, and he is super.
Yeah.
Joey Horvath for his computer help. My wife Hari for her dedication and support. And to Art Tatum, thank you for the music. We hear you. We love you. We listen to you. We remember you.
Yeah.
Yes, we
If this kind of thing tickles your fancy, please enjoy a visit to the Masterclass archive at www.davefrankjazz.com. There are now a total of 36 in-depth classes, all free for thee. Blessings, and keep swinging from New York City!
do.